I have a lot of practice, a lot of time running away from... Look at that. He kills him with the fifth skill in one shot. That's really fun. Like, that's pure... Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex. And today I'm going to do the controversial thing. And I'm going to review Spider-Man honestly with the new Back to Basics uniform. Now that isn't meant as an attack on any one particular content creator, but I can't lie and say that I haven't noticed people being biased in their assessment of Spider-Man because he's their favorite character. And I understand childhood heroes, believe me, I have my own, and I have my biases for sure. But for Spider-Man, I don't, and so that gives me the opportunity, the perspective, to review him without any of those rose-colored glasses or lenses on. So what I want to highlight first about Spider-Man's Back to Basics uniform, because there's going to be a lot of requests, but I don't want to bog you down and bore you with, you know, video after video after video testing this and testing that and testing the other thing, because inevitably, right, that's the request of people who aren't satisfied with a character's uniform. It's like, hey, why don't you test him versus the old uniform? Test him with this specific CTP. Test him with this specific team up against this specific boss. Alex, I need you to test him upside down, wearing your underwear inside out while singing the you know, Moroccan national anthem. Listen, guys, there's nothing you can do to a character that the devs haven't already done to the character, and that's why I'm starting this video in skill preview, okay? Because there's nothing, there's not nothing, right? There's something you can do. It's called, you know, reassess your expectations, but there's nothing you can actually do to a character that is going to suddenly make them just straight up way better for any piece of content, right? You can't give a character iframe ignore. You can't give a character reflect, or you can't give a character much higher base stats or faster animations or slower animations. Like, all of these things are built into the character, and I feel like some of those truths are being ignored in favor of, like, well, I gave him a brilliant CTP of destruction, so he's good now, and you can't say Spider-Man's bad for PvE. No, you can say Spider-Man's bad for PvE, and I'm here to say that he's not bad, but he's not very good. And there are certainly better options in the category of speed types, and I think it would be, ultimately it's up to you. I don't want to make any conclusions about where you should spend your resources, but I ultimately think that it's up to you whether you build a character for certain content. But I'll go through everything in as much detail as I can recall, okay? So here's the thing with Spider-Man's new uniform, and as always with new uniforms, yes, it is better categorically than his old uniform. So I'm not going to be testing it in PvP versus this uniform, and I'm not going to be testing it in PvE versus this uniform. You just take my word for it, take every other content creator's word, most other content creators' words for it. It is better. How much better? Again, that is where your expectations will come into play. It's not a lot better for PvE, and that's kind of the point. Spider-Man has in my opinion, Spider-Man has clearly been shifted to being a PvP character with this latest uniform. Is he going to stay a PvP character forever? No idea, but in my opinion, that is what the devs intended with this uniform. So let's check out the changes that they did make to his kit, okay? So they changed his third skill from being a skill where he stretches out and launches at you with the build-up, the wind-up accumulation. They just changed that completely. They made it a frenzy buff instead, and they just made it an iframe with some hits. So this is nice. This is a nice skill, not cancelable at all, okay? Not delay cancelable, anything like that. It's just a skill with hits, and that's it, okay? That's what that's one of the big changes they made, is that they moved his accumulation from his third skill on a wind-up to his fourth skill. Now, his fourth skill has the accumulation. Now, you can see it there for 8 seconds, but the accumulation happens instantly. So whether you play the fourth skill all the way out or you cancel it right away, you're always guaranteed the maximum amount of accumulation. So that's really good that he gets that accumulation instantly. That's great. However, with the fourth skill, it's also mostly not a cancelable skill. Now, you can cancel it instantly, but you don't get any hits. If you cancel instantly, you get 0 hits, but you do get the accumulation and the associated buffs with that. However, you can delay cancel it very close to the end. When he jumps up the second time, you'll see he does a second jump, and he launches these sort of bombs that explode into more webs. So that is where you can cancel this skill effectively. And you can, quote-unquote, combo it. But as you can see, this combo is 12 hits into 21 hits. So you don't actually get to keep... The chain hit's going to reset, right? It's not actually... You know, whenever you see that hit meter reset, the chain hit is going to be resetting as well. So you're not getting, you know, you're sort of splitting the difference, right? Because you're getting 12 of the hits beforehand and 20 of the hits afterwards. So that's the other change that they made. And then his 5th skill, now they changed it so that it gives him a pretty long invincibility. And it also gives him an attack here with no iframe, which is important. There's 0 iframe here. It's 27 hits, and it's got a pretty cool web ball. Again, not a cancelable skill. At any point in time during this animation, if you cancel it, you will lose whatever remainder of the animation was there. And then for his second skill, his first skill is pretty straightforward. It may be a new skill, but it just looks like a similar skill. It's just a long iframe. It looks pretty cool. But his other new skill is, without really any buffs, right, and any stats, is his second skill that has like a slowdown, a slow-mo moment to it. This is a really cool skill as far as it looks, and this is the only truly, in my opinion, truly cancelable skill, in the sense that you can cancel it early and you can get the full effect. So I think this is an important distinction to make. You can do, for example, 3 cancel 2, delay cancel 4, and you can combo all of these hits. So you can see there I rack up 34 uninterrupted hits. This is basically, besides using his 6th skill, this is the only way to get the most number of hits consecutively from Spider-Man without getting interrupted. So 34 is a pretty low number for a character's chain hit if you're considering them for PvE. Not to mention the fact that Spider-Man doesn't have any chain hit or any skill damage, bonus damage, or any ignore dodge on his kit. Okay, so those were the basic changes made to his kit from the perspective of animations, which in my opinion immediately solidify him as, like, not immediately, but in my mind it's basically like, okay, the devs clearly, in my mind, they crafted this character to not be for PvE, right? Because if you think of the best, most of the best PvE characters, they have a lot of, at least a few cancelable skills, if not mostly cancelable skills. And Spider-Man has none. He essentially has one, right? His second skill, which, surprise, surprise, is not his highest damage skill. They also made a couple of other adjustments to his kit. He's got this 50% buff for 6 seconds, and now his heal, I believe, went up from 20 or 25% up to 30%. So they did give him some extra buffs. They did crank up some of his existing buffs to being better. This frenzy buff here and his 100% damage proc on Web Wrapper, which is pretty nice. But that being said, his kit is definitely awkward to make work with a proc. Given that I don't think Spider-Man is proc friendly, why am I taking him in here with a proc? Well, so I can show you guys what it looks like. I'm going to do 3, delayed cancel 4 into 5. This is, I think, the best opportunity you have, and then with 2 seconds left on the 5th skill, you're going to go back into 4, and then when he jumps up the second time, you're going to proc. Now, this is not an easy thing to roll up and do. I'm going to do 3, cancel 6, cancel 4, into 5. This is, I think, the best possible scenario for Spider-Man. And in this case, I do think that he can be, you know, he can be one of the best speed male heroes for PvE. Okay? But I still think for his cost, I mean, it's not that there are better options, but I think there will be better options very, very soon. Right? I think there will be options very, very soon. And to be honest, Ant-Man does come to mind. I like Ant-Man, but in my opinion, the issue is more like, okay, they clearly positioned Spider-Man to be for PvP. So what are the chances that Ant-Man is also for PvP? Very low, in my opinion. Very low. Like, I've practiced this rotation for a while, so I have it down packed. You basically just have to watch the timer on 5 and then cancel appropriately. This works. This definitely works. This, you know, he may, at this point, he may look proc friendly. I wouldn't call this proc friendly, personally. I wouldn't call this proc friendly. This is definitely player ingenuity winning out versus intended dev effect. So that was 90 seconds. That's with a full stack with Echo and White Fox. It is with a damage proc, but this is also stage 45. Keep in mind that at level 80, Shadow Shell with a mighty CTP of Judgment, I believe, can do stage 99 of Null. Now, Spider-Man has other issues, as do all speed male heroes, in the sense that they cannot, they cannot do those stages because they don't have the requirements, right? But, it's a bit startling to me when people compare these characters and say, like, oh, Spider-Man and Shadow Shell are the same for PvE. This is categorically incorrect, guys. Right? There's no version of this game that you can play where they're the same for PvE unless you're just not playing one of these characters correctly. Now, as you can see, this rotation does fall apart if you get the timing off. I haven't yet figured out a consistent way of getting the timing back on where you're proccing on 5. You can, like, intentionally sacrifice a rotation here and there, but it does get pretty awkward. And trust me, canceling 4 immediately into 5, which some of you may already be writing in the comments, this is straight up a worse rotation. You lose so much damage on 4. He just doesn't have... The thing is, Spider-Man doesn't have enough hits on his other skills besides 4 to really make them work. So we're going to go ahead and give him a PvP build now, and I'm going to show you where I think his value really lies. And I think he's a really good PvP character, but I just needed to make that case for why I don't think he's a very good PvE character. And it's not that you're playing him badly or you have a bad build. It's that it just wasn't really the intention of the devs when they went in and made those specific changes, right? Like his old 5th skill, if you guys remember with the car where he's spinning it around, like, that skill is amazing. And that skill, it's such a good skill, and it's the same skill, by the way, on both kits. So even for his PvP kit, he has that same 5th skill, and that 5th skill was insanely good, right? Like, they didn't have to change this one, but they did, right? So, and they made, in some ways they made it better, right? It's still not an iframe, but in some ways they made it better in the sense that they gave him invincibility instead of the guard hit, right? The barrier 20 is worse than the guard hit, or than the invincibility. So in some ways they made it better, but having the VPAD skill, having all of those hits, having the cancelability of the 4th skill, right? Both uniforms you could delay cancel the 4th skill, right? So having all of that made him a threat either in PvE or PvP. But now it's more like they want to tune up his PvP performance and not really leave much to the imagination for PvE. Listen, you can make Spider-Man work for PvE. You can. Are there better options? Yes, there are. Just straight up, there are better options. That goes for almost any character, unless you're talking about the absolute top, right? That you can say that. I know you can say that about any character, but it is something that I think is worth saying in the conversation, because I feel like if you have a bias for a character, you'll be like, yeah, he's good for PvE and he's godly for PvP. When I think in reality, it's like he's very good for PvP and he's average for PvE, especially considering how much better, like, the gap in power that other characters can perform at. Like the fact that Shadow Shell 80 can do 99 null and Spider-Man does like maybe 60, maybe 70. So there's a gap of like 20 or 30 levels. And if you want to go into a little bit more depth on that, it's not necessarily Spidey's fault. Again, it's the way the devs designed him. But essentially, you have a situation where he can't use a proc effectively. Like, yeah, you can do the rotation that I just showed you against Null, but it's kind of janky, right? It's kind of janky. So if he can't use a CTP of energy or CTP of destruction effectively, we know he can't use a CTP of judgment because he doesn't deal elemental damage. So then his only choice for PvE, say it with me now, not his only choice, but the sort of quote-unquote preferred choice is a CTP of rage. And we know that CTPs of rage are worse for World Boss Legend, right? So, you know, it sort of gets to that point there where it's like, okay, you know, something else has to give here. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and crack these two eggs together. I wanted to save this. No. I don't want to equip this. I want to reforge this with this other egg. The mighty CTP of refinement that I ended up stopping on after like 20 rerolls has the max vitality and near max HP and recovery rate. But the only problem is that the heal at the bottom is only 10% with a barrier of 4 instead of a 20% heal with a barrier of 6. So it's not perfect, but in my opinion, it is a lot, like it's very, very close, and it has the high roll stats that I wanted. I wanted the 15% heal and the vitality effect every 8 seconds, and then I wanted a very high heal and a very high recovery rate. Now, I'm not saying this is the best CTP for him, but I have a hunch that it might be. Now, obviously, the Brilliant version is even better than the Mighty version, but Spider-Man's, difficulties, as you'll see, are not damage-related. They're defense-related. So in this case, we're just over 200% recovery rate. We have the dodge capped. We have the crit rate and the attack speed capped, which are important. Crit damage is near capped, but not quite. And this one gives him also 121, just under 122,000 HP. All right, we can't get too much more top tier than this. Gore, Hulk, and Jean Grey. We're gonna let Echo do her thing here. She's probably gonna flop pretty early. Oh, never mind. Okay, true. I expect Echo to die here or immediately to Hulk, but the net benefit is going to be that Spider-Man gets to one-tap Hulk right out of the gate. So this will put him on some pretty nice footing to deal with the Jean twice. So I expect Spider-Man to insta-kill Hulk here. He died. My brother and Spice. In the event that HP is the problem, we're going to switch over to America Chavez to give him 40% heal instead, because the idea is that he dodges everything that's going to kill him, and then he sort of tanks the things that aren't going to that he doesn't dodge that would otherwise kill him by just having a larger HP pool and using the Vitality, CTP, and the Super Guard Break immunity that it offers during the Vitality effect to tank. That was excellent. That was really important because the Vitality effect prevented me. Yeah, that sucks. The Vitality effect prevented me from getting Super Guard broken. So that was really important. Okay, we took another L there. Very cool. For Spider-Man, obviously, combat types are going to be the biggest issue because he's a speed type, so it's going to be very difficult. I still think he has the damage to kill, to one-shot Hulk. So playing him on manual is the sort of the answer there, or switching, or, you know, there's a bunch of things you can do. But I'm more interested in his performance against people that he doesn't have a 60% damage decrease versus, or whatever the overall calculation is of the... So there, the Super Guard Break immunity prevents him from getting locked down by Gore's second skill. He easily claps Sentry, really nice. So yeah, the OP damage on his hits, partially due to the fact, wow, just claps Jean right in her tracks. There's a bunch of reasons. Yeah, but see, he just can't tank. At level 70, he just can't tank. All right, we're gonna take him to 80 here. I'm very happy with his performance in terms of his damage, but I definitely think that his HP and his defenses need to be like stacked up as high as possible. So we're gonna go ahead and take him to 80 now and see how he does. But yeah, in my opinion, all of his passives lately have been geared towards PvP. You know, the ignore enemies damage decrease, the increased damage to supervillains, and then having most of the incumbent PvP enemies, you know, Jean, Gore, Hulk, Carnage, they're all villains. With a 60% increased damage to villains, it really puts Spidey in a really good place, especially because no one's running Molecule Man these days to sort of ignore those effects. It really puts him in a nice position to counter the meta effectively. Now, of course, like I said, he's always going to have that issue versus combat types. That's something you can't. It's like immutable to the character, but it shouldn't be too bad with the right build and a bit of maybe player intervention, you can call it. So we go from 120. So hang on, we're going to take Chavez off the team really quickly here because she's giving him 40%. So he went from 122,000 HP to 136, almost 137. That's nice. And then we bring in Chavez, and now he's up to 161,000. And it's important that I'm using Maya Lopez lead here because the 60% basic defense, I think, is another really, like, of course, the debuff and stuff like that. He gets to 20% ignore dodge, which he otherwise doesn't have any ignore dodge, and he gets a little bit of damage reduction. But really, that defense, bringing his defenses up in line with where they should be, close to 30,000 on the energy and over 30 on the physical, I think is so important. So this may not be the best team, the most competitive team for Spider-Man, but I think this is one of the best. It's not the best, obviously. The best would be like tier 4 Spidey with Jean Grey and somebody else, but you know, something like that. But let's see how he does. Oh, this is a tier 3 Jean Grey. Okay, Echo's probably dead here. Good. All right, Spidey, let's go. Level 80. Let me see the action. Excellent. First kill. Gets the heal. Doesn't tank. Ah, bro. Yeah, it's tough. Gene's a pain in the ass for sure. Gene's a pain in the ass for sure. Yeah, yeah. It's difficult to argue with how powerful Gene is. But Shuri does nothing for me, or does nothing for him versus me. So let's go ahead and see how this goes. Again, Echo should be dying immediately. All right, now Spidey should take the first life easy. Yeah, he just like 2-3 hits, and he takes so much residual damage. Yeah, bro, he just cannot tank. This is so annoying. What you can do as well, like if this is not working tanking wise, then we can try some more nuclear options. I'm not a big fan of this, but you can try something like we tried Colossus, right? But we can try something like you could try Shuri or Valkyrie. You can also try Ancient One for the elemental resistances. But Shuri benefits from Maya's leadership, and in this case, Shuri has an insight as well. So you get a little bit of extra damage. Wow, what is that? These teams are abhorrent. What are these teams, dude? M'Baku just to buff Gene? That's like new levels of toxic that I did not know existed in Marvel Future Fight. Yeah. I don't know. Given his performance, I don't know how much, like, it's difficult. Spider-Man's the most popular character in Marvel Future Fight, so will he be popular enough to be seen in the meta for PvP? Probably. But at the same time, I think his performance is going to leave some people wanting more. And so they may just opt to go for other teams, like just build for other teams, right? Spider-Man to me seems more like a... like he almost recovered, but he just didn't recover. It's really, like, against Gene, it's very, very difficult. So I'm gonna play these last few matches on manual, because I really don't want to you know, go through this on auto. By the way, one other thing I want to point out, because I'm not going to be tier 4ing him in this video, and I probably won't be tier 4ing him in the near future. I don't know if the devs need to look into this, but his tier 4 stat bump is very low. Very, very low. You can see his HP only goes up by like 6,000. It's actually less than 6,000. His defenses go up by very little, and his damage is really the only thing that you see move in a way that seems somewhat significant. It's actually not even that much. It's like 1,500, 1,600 on the damage. A lot of other content creators who have tier 4 Spider-Man have noticed this and pointed this out, that his HP bump, or his stat bump is very low. Not sure if that's something the devs should look into. I mean, if I were the devs, I would look into it for sure. But I don't want to, you know, I don't want to cry foul about what the hell was that? I don't want to go ahead and cry foul about... Is he worse on auto for me? Just do the 4th skill, brother. Okay, there we go. Oh. But yeah, he seems so much better against Gore now. So much better against Gore. We get kind of a free kill here versus... Wait, hello? We should be getting a free kill versus her, yeah. There we go. Get the free kill on Gene. Run away. See? Perfect. Love that. So you use the 5 initially to give you the invincibility, and then you cancel right into 4, because 4 is the money maker for Spider-Man, right? It's got that extremely high burst damage, and it also Uber Drive. And it also has the iframe ignore. So 4 is the money maker. He's built in some ways like Hulk. You know, it's not difficult to see the similarities to Hulk, right? Hulk's 5th skill has invincibility, or I think it has invincibility. But anyways, Hulk's 5th skill does one thing, you know, and his 4th skill is basically the big Kahuna, the one-shot merchant, and then same thing sort of goes for... I probably shouldn't have switched there, eh? That might not have been the play, because now with Gene all wound up like this, this might be ugly. And it's... Oh. Almost recovered there. Almost recovered. Like, I feel like if he was tier 4, yeah. Yeah. I mean, definitely he's going to have the most performance, you know, at tier 4. That's a tier 370. That should be interesting for our final match. All right, let's do this. Let's see if we can make this work. I shouldn't have switched. I think I panic switched. And that wasn't really the play. So strong. Now you absolutely have to either run or switch versus Hulk. I have a lot of practice, a lot of time running away from... Look at that. He kills him with the fist skill in one shot. That's really fun. Like, that's pure Adam versus Adam. Whoever does the second skill first wins, right? That's pure Adam in that sense. So, yeah. You know, for what it's worth, I do think he is meta for PvP. I don't think he's top of the meta for PvP. Because he doesn't have immortality, he doesn't have revive, but I do think he represents sort of like he represents like a Hulk Adam Warlock hybrid type of character. Like if you were to combine some qualities of Adam Warlock and some qualities of Hulk into one character, that's honestly how I feel Spider-Man is. And sort of how he plays. That's not everyone's cup of tea for PvP. I know some people want really highly tanky, highly versatile PvP characters who can slog it out like a Carnage, like a Hulk, like a Jean, like a Gore. But yeah, one-shot merchants, we got a new one. So watch out for that, and you know, play him accordingly if you want to use him for PvP, and if you want him to use him for PvE, knock yourself out, right? No shade on people who want to use him for PvE. I just wanted to, you know, soliloquy that at the beginning because I felt like it wasn't being said by anyone in the community. So I wanted to say it and, you know, have it out there for people to hear if anyone cares. So yeah, hit me up in the comments down below. Not my typical review, but Spider-Man is not a typical character, right? He's one of the best and one of the most popular for a reason. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Smash the like button, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.